This week, the political fight for UAP transparency is escalating in Washington, with new legislation and whistleblower reports heating up. Plus, Steven Spielberg's massive new Alien movie just dropped a trailer during the Super Bowl.
And you won't believe this. Wall Street is now getting in on the action with an alien disclosure investment fund. We'll also touch on some wild resurfaced military footage and what former President Obama is saying now.
It feels like all these different threads, political, cultural, financial, are starting to weave together.
You're tuned in to The Back Page, where we sift through the latest buzz on UFOs, UAPs, aliens, and all things non-human intelligence, including what's making waves about Obama in those headlines.
A former president of the United States went on a podcast today, and he was asked a very direct question.
A question people have been asking presidents for decades.
Right. The question was, are aliens real?
And his answer, verbatim, was, they're real.
Just flat out, no hesitation.
No hedging. No, it's a statistical probability. Just a direct statement. And the president was Barack Obama.
This just broke today, Saturday, February 14th, and it's already, as you can imagine, everywhere.
It's a genuine frenzy, because here you have a former president, a person known for being incredibly precise and deliberate with his language, making what sounds like an unambiguous declaration.
So what exactly happened here? What did he really say, and what does it actually mean?
Okay, so take us into the room. Where did this even happen? This wasn't some primetime address.
Far from it. This was an interview on a podcast, The Brian Tyler Cohen Show, and the reporting indicates this came up during what they called a lightning round. You know, a series of quick, sometimes silly questions at the end of an interview.
A lightning round. So, not the place you'd expect a major revelation about extraterrestrial life.
Not at all, which is part of what's so fascinating. The interviewer, Brian Cohen, just asks him straight up, are aliens real? And Obama gives that immediate response, they're real.
But he didn't stop there. He added more, right?
He did. He immediately followed up with a clarification, or maybe a disclaimer. He said, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in Area 51.
Okay, so he's trying to manage the implications of his own statement in real time. He says it, then immediately pulls back a little.
Exactly. He makes this declarative statement and then pivots to debunking the most common pop culture conspiracy theory associated with it. And then, according to the transcript from his own Medium post, he joked that his first question as president was, where are the aliens?
Which he has said before, that joke. It feels like a way to soften the blow of what he just said.
And that's the thing. This isn't the first time he's talked about this. Help us understand his track record on this topic.
Right, there's a pattern here. Back in May of 2021, he was on The Late Late Show with James Corden. He did the same thing. Started with a joke saying when he got to office, he asked if there was a secret lab with alien specimens.
And they told him no, I remember that.
They told him no, but then he got very serious. He said, and I'm quoting here, what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
So even back then, he was confirming the reality of the UAP videos that the Pentagon had released, the stuff that we've talked about a lot on this show.
Yes, and he specifically mentioned that we can't explain their trajectory or how they moved. He was validating the core mystery of the phenomenon. Then he added this little kicker. When it comes to aliens, there are some things I just can't tell you on air.
Which, of course, just adds fuel to the fire.
It does. And then just a month later, in June 2021, he was on Ezra Klein's podcast. He talked about how finding out about aliens wouldn't really change his politics, but he hoped it would give humanity a sense of perspective, that we're all just tiny organisms on a small planet.
So he's been thinking about the philosophical implications for a while. It's not a new topic for him.
Not at all. He's consistently walked this line. Humor, followed by a serious acknowledgement of the unexplained, and then some thoughtful reflection. But he's never just said they're real. That's new.
Okay, so let's go back to the exact words from today, because the details seem to really matter here. The full quote again?
It was, They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in Area 51, unless there's this enormous conspiracy and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Okay, that last part, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, what is that?
That's the part that has people really spinning. He dismisses the easy Area 51 trope, which a president would be expected to do, but he doesn't just say it's not true. He adds a condition. He presents a scenario where it could be true.
A scenario in which the President of the United States is kept in the dark.
Exactly. A conspiracy so vast, so compartmentalized, that even the commander-in-chief isn't read in. And for a former president to even float that possibility as a serious caveat, it's stunning.
So what are people making of that? I mean, online the discussion must be...
It's split. One perspective emerging is that he's being clever. He's saying what he knows to be true, that there's no official program he was briefed on. But he's also signaling that he's aware of the possibility of programs that exist outside of normal oversight, something whistleblowers have alleged for years.
Like the ones we've been hearing about in relation to the UAP Disclosure Act?
Precisely. The other read is that it's his way of saying, look, I can't definitively say no, because by definition, I wouldn't know about a conspiracy that excluded me. It's a kind of logical trap.
And what about the first part? The actual words, they're real. You said he's known for being a careful speaker.
The discussion online has really zeroed in on that. Many are pointing out he didn't say, I think they're real, or they're probably real. He stated it as a fact. And coming from a lawyer, a constitutional scholar, someone who measures every syllable, that choice of words is being seen as highly significant.
And then nothing? The interviewer just moved on?
That's another major point of frustration for people watching this. There was no follow-up. It was a lightning round, so the format wasn't really built for a deep dive, but it's left this huge statement just hanging in the air.
So what happens now? A former president says aliens are real? Where does this story go?
Well, it puts an enormous amount of pressure on the current administration and on Congress. This isn't just some anonymous source anymore. This is Barack Obama. It gives a huge amount of credibility to the subject.
And it comes at a time when Congress is already taking this more seriously than ever before. We just talked about the UAP Disclosure Act, the AARO office at the Pentagon.
It lands right in the middle of that escalating conversation. It almost feels like a deliberate nudge. Some are speculating that this could be a form of soft disclosure, using a semi-casual setting with a popular figure to slowly introduce a reality that might otherwise be shocking to the system.
Is that just speculation, or is there anything to back that up?
It's pure speculation at this point. The alternative is simpler, that it was just an unusually candid moment from a former president who feels more free to speak his mind. We don't know the why, but we can see the effect.
And the effect is what?
The effect is that the Overton window, the range of acceptable public discourse on this topic, has just been dramatically shifted. A serious conversation about non-human intelligence just became that much more mainstream.
So the biggest question now is the one he himself joked about.
Right. If they're real, where are they?
According to multiple reports, there's a serious legislative push happening. At a press conference in January, Representative Eric Burlinson was pretty blunt, urging Congress to pass the UAP Disclosure Act and strengthen whistleblower protections.
And he's not just talking into the void. The fiscal year 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, already has UAP amendments baked into it. Reports from December say the House-approved version includes a new streamlined single electronic portal for reporting.
Right, for DoD personnel, civilian employees, contractors, basically anyone who sees something. And that same legislation reportedly mandates that AARO has to brief Congress on all UAP intercepts by Northcom and NORAD going back to 2004. They want numbers, locations, procedures, everything.
See, but this is where it gets complicated. While Congress is pushing AARO for more, AARO's own public-facing reports are, let's say, less dramatic. Their big 2024 report concluded there was no empirical evidence linking UAPs to extraterrestrial technology.
Wait, no, that's a good point. So you have this one arm of the government, Congress, acting like disclosure is imminent, while another, AARO, is essentially saying, nothing to see here, folks.
Exactly.
And it gets even murkier. The DoD Inspector General just released a final report in January on a UAP-related whistleblower reprisal case. It's heavily redacted, but outlets like the Black Vault point out that the timing and context align very closely with David Grush.
So they're investigating whistleblower complaints while a specific Whistleblower Protection Act for UAP material, HR 5600, is still sitting in committee since August 2025. It feels like the system is trying to catch up with the testimony it's already hearing.
It's a total disconnect. On one hand, you have insiders cited by outlets like Liberation Times who are linking former intelligence leaders to alleged shoot-down and retrieval programs. On the other, you have AARO talking about Starlink satellites and deflating balloons. A preliminary report on 144 incidents from 2004 to 2021 identified one as a balloon. One.
Hold up. 1 out of 144? So 143 remained unexplained? That's the part that gets me. And the same report confirmed 18 of them showed anomalous movement patterns that defy conventional explanation. It seems like the data AARO has is way more compelling than their public conclusions sometimes suggest.
Well, to be fair, some sources say the latest 2026 AARO report is actually calling for a shift, not just categorizing, but dedicated scientific funding for theoretical physics, advanced propulsion, material science. It's almost like they're admitting this simple explanations aren't cutting it anymore.
So this intense political pressure for real-world disclosure in Washington is fascinating because at the exact same time, Hollywood is serving up its own version. It's a perfect storm of narrative.
Speaking of which, that Super Bowl trailer for Steven Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day, wow, it's been teased for months with cryptic billboards, and now it's everywhere.
It is. Variety and others are reporting on this trailer with Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor, and the whole premise seems to be about revealing the existence of aliens. The release is set for June 12th, 2026, so this is going to build all spring.
And it's Spielberg, the man behind Close Encounters and E.T., returning to this genre is a massive cultural signal. It connects directly to this idea of ontological shock we're hearing about from financial analysts. Is pop culture just entertainment, or is it preparing the public for something?
Well, some commentators are definitely seeing it that way. One podcast, UAP, Unidentified Alien Podcast, even has an episode titled July 8th, 2026, Disclosure Day, linking the movie's theme to real-world speculation.
But the Spielberg film feels different. It's tapping into the same vein as the Age of Disclosure documentary from late 2025, which featured all those government insiders. It's this idea that something is known and being hidden. It makes you wonder how much this cultural conversation drives the political one, or vice versa.
It's interesting to see how culture reflects these conversations, but what happens when this stops being about movies and starts being about markets? According to some analysts, we're already there.
Yeah, this is the part I did not see coming. Last week, ETF.com and Newsfile Corp both reported on a new investment fund. It's an ETF, an exchange-traded fund, with a UFO disclosure strategy.
Wait, really? So you can literally invest in the idea of alien technology becoming public?
Apparently, the fund targets companies that could benefit from the release of advanced technology. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. A few weeks ago, Men's Journal and Newsweek were covering warnings from a former Bank of England analyst about the potential for ontological shock from alien disclosure, causing financial disruption.
Ontological shock. That's a heavy term for the financial pages. So the thinking is, if it's confirmed we're not alone, or if some radical new energy or propulsion tech is released, it could destabilize the entire global economy?
That seems to be the concern analysts are flagging. It's the ultimate black swan event. One day, everything is normal. The next day, our entire understanding of physics, energy, and our place in the universe could change. How do you price that risk into the market? Well, now there's an ETF for it, I guess.
Huh. It's the ultimate connection, isn't it? It links this abstract, almost mythological subject directly to the global financial system. It's not just about what's in the sky, it's about what's in your 401k.
Okay, let's switch gears and do a quick roundup of some other fascinating items that popped up this week. First, there's been a ton of chatter about resurfaced US military drone footage.
Right, the 3 orbs video. Unilad and the Times of India covered it. It shows these 3 glowing objects in a triangular formation. It's not new footage, but it's making the rounds again, probably because of all the other news. On the academic side, there are a couple of new papers on arXiv that are pretty thought-provoking. One from S.G. Dragowski is titled Imagining the Alien, and it talks about our own cognitive limitations and human projections.
So, we can only imagine aliens in ways our own biology and psychology allow? That makes sense. Another paper by Darren J. Duggan revisits the Great Filter hypothesis, asking if there's a new filter we haven't considered.
It all just adds to the texture of the conversation. You've got the hard politics, the pop culture, the money, and then the deep academic questions all happening at once.
With all this news, the bills in Congress, the movies, the ETFs, what is the practical takeaway here according to the experts?
I think the clearest answer comes from combining the political and the financial stories. The why I should care is that, according to reporting, factions within the US government are taking this seriously enough to legislate it, and Wall Street is taking it seriously enough to create financial products for it.
Right. Cyber News reported last week that a lawmaker claimed Congress was shown classified UAP videos that defy physics. This isn't just a fringe topic anymore. It's being discussed in secure briefings and on the floor of the House.
And the Bank of England warning about ontological shock is the ultimate why you should care. If analysts are right, the economic impact of a true disclosure event could be massive. It would reshape industries: energy, transportation, computing, medicine, everything.
So the takeaway is that the conversation has moved from if to when and how, at least for some very influential people. And the how could have real-world consequences for everyone, whether they're looking at the sky or not.
So where does all this go in 2026? What are the predictions from the sources we're seeing?
Well, the consensus seems to be that the pressure is building to a breaking point. You have an increasingly vocal group in Congress who feel they're being stonewalled. You have a constant stream of whistleblower testimony coming forward.
And now you have these huge cultural and financial amplifiers. A Spielberg movie called Disclosure Day and a UFO disclosure ETF are not subtle. They're mainstreaming the conversation in a way that's impossible to ignore.
The prediction is that something has to give. Either ARO provides more substantive answers that satisfy Congress, or Congress will continue to push legislation to force the issue. The commentary suggests this slow, managed process might be getting away from the managers.
It feels like a story that's accelerating. From Washington to Hollywood to Wall Street, all the signals are pointing in the same direction. It's going to be a fascinating year to watch.
In Washington, D.C., a neurosurgeon stood before a room full of reporters and made an extraordinary claim.
He claimed he met and communicated with a being not from this planet.
And this didn't happen in some back room. This was at the National Press Club, a very public, very established stage.
On Tuesday, January 20th, the filmmaker James Fox, known for his documentaries on this subject, organized the event. He brought witnesses from Brazil and insiders from the US government to present what he called new evidence of non-human encounters.
And the claims coming out of it are pretty significant.
They are. The entire event was structured to build a case, not just for one incident, but for a much larger, covered-up reality. It was a direct appeal for transparency and for Congress to take these claims seriously.
The main focus was an event in Brazil from decades ago, right?
Yes, the Varginha incident. It's often called Brazil's Roswell. This happened back in January of 1996. The story goes that a strange cigar-shaped object was seen in distress, seemingly crashing or making an emergency landing near the town of Varginha.
And this wasn't just a light in the sky.
Not according to the witnesses. In the hours and days that followed, there were multiple reports of strange creatures being seen in the area. The most famous account is from 3 young women who said they encountered a creature huddled by a wall. They described it as about 3 feet tall, with a large head and big reflective eyes.
So, local eyewitnesses. What about officials?
That's the next layer. The allegation is that the Brazilian military, including the local fire department, responded and captured at least 2 of these living beings.
They captured them alive?
That's the claim.
and that one of these beings was eventually taken to a local hospital for examination before, allegedly, being transported out of the country by the US military. This entire sequence of events is what James Fox's documentary, Moment of Contact, is about, and it's the foundation for this press conference.
Okay, so with that context, let's turn to the event itself in DC. It was split into 2 sessions. The morning was all about Brazil. Who was the star witness?
The headliner was Dr. Italo Venturelli, a neurosurgeon. He was presented as someone who was there, at the hospital, when one of the captured beings was brought in.
A neurosurgeon. That's a credible profession. What did he say he saw?
He was very direct. He's quoted in the press release saying, "The truth is, I saw the being. It was not a being from our planet." He described it as a small, purple, drop-shaped being. But then the claim went even further.
Further how?
He claimed he experienced telepathic communication with it.
Wow. Telepathic. Okay, so that's a claim that is, by its nature, impossible to verify. What other evidence was presented to back up this story?
Well, they also brought in a forensic pathologist, Dr. Armando Fortunato. His part of the story connects to a Brazilian soldier who allegedly handled one of the beings during its capture and died shortly after from a mysterious infection.
And this pathologist analyzed tissue from the soldier?
That's the claim. According to Fox's team, the analysis found an extremely rare bacteria that appeared unusually evolved, suggesting an origin not found on Earth. So you have the direct eyewitness testimony from the surgeon, and then this pathological claim meant to serve as physical evidence, albeit indirectly.
Were there other witnesses?
There were. A pilot named Carlos de Souza testified about finding strange metallic debris from the alleged crash site, debris that he said would revert to its original shape after being crumpled. But interestingly, some of the planned Brazilian witnesses couldn't make it.
Oh? Why not?
According to reporting on the event, they were denied US visas, so Fox's team presented their testimony via video statements instead.
Okay, so the morning session lays out this incredibly detailed, almost sci-fi-like story from Brazil. But the conference didn't stop there. The afternoon session shifted focus dramatically.
Right. It pivoted to the United States. The whole point was to draw a line from this event in Brazil 30 years ago to the current conversation in Washington about US government secrecy and UAPs.
And they did this by bringing on American insiders.
They spoke about alleged US crash retrieval programs and the study of so-called non-human biologics.
So they're essentially saying the Varginha incident isn't an isolated event, but an example of what these secret programs deal with.
That's the clear implication. They made the connection even more explicit with another speaker, a retired U.S. Air Force colonel named Fred Clausen.
What did he add?
He spoke about a possible U.S. military retrieval operation, specifically referencing a C-17 cargo flight from Brazil around the time of the incident. It's meant to be the piece that links the Brazilian capture to a U.S. cover-up.
So basically, the afternoon was an effort to say, and here's where the creature went. And all of this is in service of a political goal, right? It's not just storytelling.
Absolutely. The overarching theme was the call for expanded whistleblower protections. Congressman Eric Burleson was even there, advocating for measures like the UAP Disclosure Act. The entire event was designed to pressure lawmakers by taking these testimonies directly to the public in their own backyard.
And I saw they also released a petition.
Yes, a petition signed by reportedly thousands of scientists, engineers, and former service members, all urging for a formal Senate hearing on the matter. It was a multi-pronged push for legitimacy.
What's the reaction been?
It's been pretty divided from what I can tell. On one hand, you have people who see this as a landmark event, bringing first-hand sworn testimony from credible professionals directly into the public square. They see Dr. Venturelli's statement as historic.
And on the other hand,
On the other, there's a sense of disappointment. Some post-conference discussion online has focused on the lack of new, hard, physical evidence. A doctor's memory, even a vivid one, is still testimony. The claims about the rare bacteria are compelling, but without the actual medical reports and data to review, it remains just a claim.
So some people are saying, where's the proof?
Exactly. They want something tangible.
And when you have claims as big as telepathic communication, the bar for evidence becomes incredibly high. But for others, that's not really the point.
What do you mean?
From their perspective, this is part of a long, slow process of acclimating the public and the government to these ideas. James Fox himself said ahead of the event that his goal was to catalyze public demand and trigger a congressional investigation. It wasn't about dropping a piece of irrefutable metal on the table.
So what's the next step then? Where does this story go from here?
Well, Fox has said he's planning a follow-up documentary series. He's also partnering with a group called the UAP Transparency Initiative to pursue Freedom of Information Act requests related to these alleged secret programs. The goal seems to be to keep the pressure on, to take these testimonies and use them as leverage to try and pry open official files. This conference wasn't an ending. It was very clearly intended to be a beginning.